The Island 10 had just finished unloading its previous cargo and was getting ready for a crab fishing expedition on the west coast of Kamchatka. The Kamchatka crab has a shell size of 20 to 25 centimeters and the leg span reaches 1 meter. Kamchatka crabs usually inhabit shallow water zones up to 300 meters deep. In spring for spawning, Kamchatka crabs migrate to coastal waters, and after spawning, they move to deeper waters. This type of crab is called Alaskan king crab and is considered the most valuable and expensive among all types of crab. The ship's departure is scheduled for dawn. The crew, consisting of 23 people, is composed of true professionals in their field and is ready for the most profitable crab fishing in the world. Night had fallen on the docks, allowing the team to relax and rest a bit. Tomorrow, the sea awaits them. On October 31st, 2 hours before dawn, the team rechecked the functionality of all the ship's mechanisms. It's not yet clear when it will set sail. We estimate about 6 hours left. The transition to the fishing area takes 5 days under normal weather conditions. Typically, hurricanes in November are a common occurrence during the transition. The Island 10 encountered a moderate storm. Waves reach 5 meters, and winds sometimes reach 60 knots or 30 meters per second. This is bad weather, however. The ship must continue to sail. For most of the crew, a trip to the crab fishing area is a rest time before entering the challenging work days when they start catching crabs. At the same time, there are many tasks to prepare for crab fishing during the transition. Storms can affect plans, and the transition to the crab fishing area takes exactly 6 days. This is outside the established schedule. In reality, the ship's captain correctly predicted such a situation and requested permission to begin the capture on November 6th. This is a very important moment because according to the laws of the Russian Federation, crab fishing is limited to a certain number of days per vessel, depending on the size of the quota. In the West Kamchatka crab fishing zone, this limitation is 5.5 tons per day for every vessel. Thus, the Island 10 vessel was only given 10 days to catch crabs. In the last 24 hours of the journey, preparations were made to place traps at the stern for catching crabs. The traps used were cone-shaped with a steel frame, baited with frozen trevally crushed in a special machine, and placed in a plastic bottle with holes through which the fish's scent diffuses into the water, attracting crabs. At the beginning of the first hour of work, on the day of the first catch, the deck team led by Vladimir, they were ready to lay the first trap. Vladimir's leader in command was Boy Poshol, meaning installation has begun, and the trap was thrown into the sea. Crab traps are joined using their backs and placed at both ends. The distance between one trap and the other is 20 meters. Setting one trap took about 30 minutes, and there were 100 traps in all. After setting one trap, the crew immediately set up the next one. That's how he started working as a crew member and catching Alaskan king crab. At dawn on November 6th, all the traps were properly set. From the installer and trap until withdrawal, almost 2 days have passed. The time from setting crab traps to issuing them is called zastray, which is necessary to fill the trap with crabs. For Kamchatka crab, the average zastray lasts from 10 hours to 1.5 days, depending on the fishing area, depth, and season. In this case, the long time was due to the force majeure circumstances that occurred. The retrieval process begins by looking for a buoy. Once the buoys are found, they are grabbed with a hook and pulled onto the deck. Then the hook is attached to the hoisting machine. Then, groups of traps were drawn from the air. Retrieving a group of traps usually takes about an hour. The first group lifted weighed 450 kilograms, which was much lower than expected, considering the long zastray. Typically, a good yield is considered to be between 800 to 1,500 kilograms of crabs per group of traps with the standards astray. This indicates that the location of the first group of traps was chosen poorly, so the decision was made to move them. However, the captain and crew did not give up, as there were still 9 other groups to be removed, and the potential for finding more crabs was very possible. The arrival of crabs onto a ship's deck does not necessarily mean that they will be extracted from their habitat forever and sent to someone's table to be eaten. You may only select crabs specified in the fishing permit, and only males of all crab species, as well as all crab species not specified in the fishing permit. So began the regulations for catching crabs at sea. The ship's crew is obliged to release it back to its natural habitat via special lanes on the sorting table in the coming winter to allow the crabs to return to the sea unharmed. Today, it has been 5 full days since November 6th passed. This means that there must be at least 30 tons of live crabs in the chamber, based on the daily quota established by law of 5.5 tons per day. With only 3 tons in the chamber, this ride is a failure. With that in mind, the captain approached the first command buoy, returning to the fishing area. The ship arrived on November 11th at 6 a.m. and continued her work. Teams must select orders from a 3-day backlog. Selection begins after the selection of orders per Tama, and we have 1,800 kilograms of selected Kamchatka crabs. The team is satisfied with the results and implementation of the next order. A buoy marked ding, and another 1.5 tons started. There are 8 more orders ahead. Finally, on November 11th, based on a selection of 10 orders, we managed to catch more than 15 tons of excellent crabs in 6 days of fishing. On the Island 10 vessel, more than 18 tonnes remained of the required quantity of 30 tonnes. Everyone understood that such success only happened because of the pauses made and the length in placing the traps. Repeating such success with our daily catch and number of orders is impossible. All team members believe that the unpleasant situation is enough during this journey, and fate must allow them to complete the remaining days of capture without any surprises. On the evening of November 12th, there were already 24 tons of crabs on Chanas Island 10. On November 13th, the catch reached 7.5 tons. The following day, the catch reached 9.5 tons, and the total volume of Kamchatka crab reached 41 tons aboard Island 10. There is only one more fishing day left, but there are still 12 tons of crabs missing in the Chanas. Realizing that this was not possible, the company ordered an additional 11 tons of crab for Island 10, plus 2 more fishing days. Decisions like these are necessary to give ships additional fishing days into unexplored areas. Now, let's go back to today, November 14th, and take a break from the days of routine arrests. On this trip, Island 10 had a chef named Alexander, and all the crew members were willing to handpick him. UK Raduga, never stingy in food supplies, and strive to provide quality and diverse products. Today, the chef had prepared a cake to celebrate the birthday of one of the crew members, Alexander, the lead engineer. Amid busyness in work, we celebrate to make it cheerful, as is expected of us. So let's get to work. On November 15th, the catch was almost 6 tons. With the results of 10 days of fishing, it became clear that by November 16th, we should reach the planned target of 50 tons of live crabs. This means that every order we select must be prepared for placement and must not remain in storage. The plan was completed, and the ship moved to Zarubin port to unload the catch. Inside the storage room were more than 53 tons live Kamchatka crab. This means that the goal has been achieved. The crew unloads the catch. It was a very interesting trip for 28 days. Soon Island 10 ships will continue their journey. There are still many waiting, chasing Kamchatka crabs not yet finished. The journey will continue. Often people ask why people leave to the sea. He will say that he works at sea romantic and full of adventure. However, I will tell you that this is a tough job. with danger to life every minute. It's not easy. Not everyone can survive in such work. Of course, people go to sea especially to earn a living and support their families. According to statistics, worldwide, an average is about 250,000 people died at sea. I will be able to go home to the house. I will hug my wife and children, and I'll shake hands with my son. I will provide for you. I will be able to.